You begin by noticing something small and ordinary. The way this moment feels. Not what time it is, not how long you have been here, but how gently the present settles around you. There is no ticking sound you can hear, no numbers floating in the dark. There is only a sense of now, soft and unmeasured, like a blanket resting on your thoughts. Time, when you stop trying to track it, feels different. It loosens. It stretches its limbs. A minute no longer insists on being 60 seconds. It becomes something emotional instead. Sometimes it feels wide and slow, like a long breath taken at ease. Other times it feels thin and quick, slipping through you before you notice it has passed. You have felt this your entire life. When you are bored, time drags its feet, heavy and reluctant. When you are joyful, it runs ahead, light and careless. When you are afraid, it sharpens, every second bright and loud. None of this shows up on a clock, yet all of it is real. So tonight, you allow yourself to feel time rather than measure it. You let go of the idea that time is something strict and mechanical. Instead, you sense it as something that moves with you, something that responds. You notice how your breathing shapes the moment. Each inhale opens a small space. Each exhale closes it again. The rhythm is steady, but not rigid. No two breaths are exactly the same. Time flows through them anyway, patient and accommodating. Memory does the same quiet bending. A single afternoon from childhood can stretch endlessly in your mind, filled with color and detail. Entire years of routine, on the other hand, can collapse into a blur. Time, you realize, has never behaved like a ruler laid across your life. It behaves more like water, filling whatever shape experience gives it. This realization is not new, but tonight it feels important. You begin to sense that your personal experience of time is not a flaw in the system. It is a clue. Long before physics gave time a definition, before calendars and clocks and schedules, time was felt. It was sunrise and sunset. Hunger and rest. Growth and decay. Time was the space between needs being met. It was counted by shadows, not seconds. Even now, your body remembers this older way of knowing. It does not care what hour it is. It cares whether you are tired, whether you are calm, whether it is safe to rest. Your body lives in a softer time, guided by cycles instead of numbers. As you lie here, you begin to wonder if the universe itself might experience time in a similar way. Not as a rigid march forward, but as something shaped by conditions, influenced by presence, responsive to what exists within it. Science often feels sharp and exact, full of measurements and precision. But beneath that surface, it begins with noticing, with curiosity, with the quiet discomfort of realizing that something familiar may not be as simple as it seems. Time is one of those things. It feels obvious until you look at it closely. It feels universal until you ask whether it truly moves the same everywhere, for everyone, for everything. Tonight, you do not rush toward answers. You simply sit with the question, what is time, really, when you are not counting it? You imagine time not as a straight line, but as a landscape. Some places are steep, others gentle. Some paths rush downward, others wind slowly across open ground. Where you are standing determines how quickly you move. This image feels strangely comforting. It suggests that slowness is not a failure. That speed is not a requirement. That rest is not falling behind. You feel the present moment thicken slightly, as if the air itself is holding you. There is no need to go anywhere else. Time is not pushing. It is allowing. The universe, you begin to sense, might be doing something similar on a much grander scale. It might not demand that every corner move in perfect synchrony. It might permit variation. It might allow some moments to linger longer than others. This idea does not disrupt your calm. It deepens it. It suggests that the softness you feel now is not an illusion, but a reflection of how time truly behaves when freed from human expectation. You rest inside this thought. Time is something flexible. Time is something relational. Time is something that responds to motion, to presence, to weight. Already, without equations or terminology, you are brushing against a profound truth. One that physicists took centuries to articulate, and that the universe has always known. The night grows quieter. Your thoughts slow, not because time has changed, but because your attention has. You are no longer chasing the moment ahead. You are inhabiting the one you are in. In this stillness, you begin to sense that time might not be the same everywhere. That it might flow differently depending on where you are, how fast you move, how deeply you are held. This is not something to solve right now. It is something to gently approach. A door slightly open, inviting you to look inside without urgency. For now, it is enough to notice that time feels soft. That it listens. That it bends quietly around experience. And as you drift closer to sleep, you begin to turn inward, curious about the clocks you carry within you, ticking not with gears or numbers, but with breath, heartbeat, and living rhythm. You turn your attention inward, away from the quiet room and into yourself. There is no need to move. Nothing needs to be adjusted. Your body is already keeping time, patiently and without instruction. It always has. You feel your breath first. It arrives, pauses, and leaves again. Not sharply, not mechanically, but with a softness that adapts to how you feel. When you are calm, it slows. When you are alert, it quickens. Your breath is a clock that listens before it decides how fast to move. Beneath that rhythm, your heart is working. It does not count seconds. It responds to need. It speeds up when you climb, slows down when you rest, and settles into a steady pace when the world feels safe. Each beat marks a moment, but no two beats are identical. Time, inside you, is already flexible. Your body contains many such clocks. Your eyes blink. Your stomach digests. Your skin renews itself. Cells divide, repair, and replace. Some of these processes take seconds, others take years. All of them are forms of timekeeping, layered together, overlapping gently. None of these clocks care about schedules. They care about balance. They adjust constantly, responding to temperature, light, movement, and emotion. When the sun rises, certain hormones increase. When darkness falls, others begin their slow work. Your body keeps time by listening to the world around it. This is not the kind of time taught in school. It cannot be written neatly on a line. It is circular, rhythmic, and alive. It repeats, but never perfectly. Each cycle carries subtle differences, shaped by experience. You may notice how hunger appears when it is ready, not when the clock declares it should. Fatigue arrives when energy has been spent, not when a number is reached. Your body understands duration through sensation, not measurement. As you rest here, you sense how deeply familiar this kind of timing feels. Long before you learned to read a clock, you knew when it was time to sleep. You knew when it was time to run, to eat, to stop. Time was felt, not calculated. Even now, when daily life demands precision, your inner clocks quietly negotiate. They push back when routines stretch too far. They slow you down when rest is needed. They remind you, gently or insistently, that time is not meant to be forced. Science calls these rhythms biological clocks. But that phrase hardly captures their elegance. They are not devices ticking away in isolation. They are conversations between your body and its environment. Light speaks. Temperature answers. Motion responds. Time emerges from the exchange. Your circadian rhythm, the cycle that guides sleep and wakefulness, is one of the clearest examples. It is tuned to the turning of the planet, to the steady pattern of day and night. Even without watches or windows, your body would still find its way, slowly aligning itself with the world. This alignment is not perfect. It drifts. It adjusts. It recovers. When you travel, your inner clocks take time to catch up. They do not jump instantly. They move gradually, easing themselves into a new rhythm. Time, within you, resists sudden change. This resistance is gentle, not stubborn. It protects balance. It ensures that life unfolds at a pace the body can sustain. Your cells do not rush their work. Your heart does not sprint without reason. Slowness, here, is a form of care. As you lie quietly, you begin to notice how comforting this is. You are not required to keep up. Your body is not racing forward. It is moving at a speed shaped by countless signals, all aimed toward stability. This makes you wonder. If time inside you is responsive, adaptive, and local, why would time outside be any different? Why would the universe insist on a single pace, unaffected by conditions? The idea feels less strange than it might have before. After all, your own experience is proof that time can flow differently depending on circumstances. Effort changes it. Rest changes it. Emotion changes it. Location changes it. Your body ages unevenly. Skin renews faster than bone. Hair grows while teeth remain still. Some changes are visible, others hidden. Time does not sweep across you uniformly. It touches different parts in different ways. This unevenness is not chaos. It is structure. It is a system tuned to complexity. The body does not simplify time. It multiplies it. You breathe again, slower now, and feel how the moment stretches slightly as attention deepens. Nothing external has changed. The room is the same. The night is the same. Yet time feels fuller, thicker, more spacious. This fullness is not an illusion. It is a shift in how time is experienced. An experience, you are beginning to sense, is not separate from reality. It is part of it. Physics, at its most careful, listens for these kinds of hints. It asks whether the way time feels might reflect how time truly behaves. It wonders whether the universe, like the body, keeps many clocks at once. As sleep approaches, you feel held by your own rhythms. Heartbeat, breath, the subtle rise and fall of being alive. These are not counting down. They are sustaining you. You rest inside this living time, curious now, not anxious, about what lies beyond. If your body carries clocks shaped by motion and rest, perhaps the universe carries clocks shaped by light and gravity. And as your inner rhythms guide you gently towards sleep, your thoughts begin to drift outward, following the path of light itself, wondering how time travels when it moves through the vast, quiet space between stars. You let your attention drift outward now, beyond the rhythms of your body, beyond the quiet room, and into the open dark of space. There, moving effortlessly, is light. It does not hurry, and it does not hesitate. It simply goes. Light travels without rest. From distant stars, from glowing galaxies, from the soft reflection of the moon, it moves steadily onward. Every moment you see is already a memory, carried to you by light that has crossed distance to arrive. You imagine a single beam leaving a star. It begins its journey without sound, without effort, sliding through the vastness. There is no resistance, no fatigue. Light is motion itself, pure and unburdened. In science, light holds a special role. It is not just something that illuminates. It sets the pace of the universe. Nothing can move faster than light. This is not a rule imposed from outside, but a property woven into reality itself. Because of this, time takes its cues from light. A second is defined by how light behaves, by the steady rhythm of its motion. Time, in a very real sense, is measured by light's journey. You picture time riding alongside light, inseparable from it. Wherever light goes, time goes too. They are companions, traveling together across the cosmos. This idea feels strangely gentle. Time is no longer an abstract flow. It is something that moves, something that can be followed. It has a speed, and that speed is constant. Light does not care where it travels. Empty space feels the same as crowded space. From light's perspective, there is no difference. It always moves at the same pace, unwavering, reliable. This constancy is comforting. It gives the universe a quiet consistency. Even as stars explode and galaxies drift apart, light remains faithful to its speed. But this faithfulness carries surprising consequences. If light's speed cannot change, then something else must. And that something is time. You begin to sense this intuitively. If light must always move the same way, then the universe must adjust around it. Distance can stretch. Time can bend. But light continues, calm and exact. Imagine shining a flashlight across a still lake. The beam glides smoothly, reflecting off the surface. Now imagine the lake begins to ripple and curve. The path of the light changes, but its speed does not. The surface adapts instead. Space and time behave like that lake. They shape themselves around light's unwavering motion. This shaping is subtle, invisible, but profound. You realize now why light is often called the universe's messenger. It carries information. It tells stories of where it has been. It brings news from places you will never visit. When you look at the stars, you are not seeing them as they are now. You are seeing them as they were. Light takes time to travel, and time is built into the journey. Some starlight began its path before humans existed. Some began before Earth itself formed. Light carries these ancient moments forward, delivering them gently to your eyes. In this way, light becomes a bridge between past and present. It folds time into space, making distance also a measure of history. You feel the scale of this quietly. Not as something overwhelming, but as something humbling. Time is vast, yet accessible. You touch it every time you see. Science tells you that if you could travel alongside a beam of light, time would behave strangely. For light itself, time does not pass. The journey is instantaneous. Departure and arrival are the same moment. This is difficult to imagine, and you do not force yourself to. Instead, you let the feeling settle. Time and light experience the universe differently than you do. Yet they remain connected to your experience. Because you are not light, time flows for you. Because you have mass, because you exist within space, you move through time at a pace shaped by where you are and how you move. Still, light sets the limit. It draws a quiet boundary around possibility. Within that boundary, time becomes flexible. You begin to sense that time is not a backdrop, but an active participant. It adjusts to protect light's consistency. It yields when necessary. This yielding is not chaos. It is structure responding to constraint. It is the universe maintaining harmony. As you rest with this thought, you notice how natural it feels. Time adapting. Space responding. Light remaining steady. This is not a harsh system. It is an elegant one. The night sky feels closer now. Less distant. Light has made it intimate by carrying moments across unimaginable spans. You breathe slowly, imagining each breath as a small beam of light moving through you, marking moments not with ticks, but with presence. The universe, you realize, measures itself not with clocks, but with motion. Light's motion becomes time's reference. And yet, there is something else at play. Something that has not yet entered the story fully. A quiet force that shapes space itself. As light moves, this force waits. It curves paths. It deepens landscapes. It prepares to influence both motion and time. You sense it approaching in thought, not urgently, but inevitably. Gravity, patient and powerful, is already bending the road ahead, ready to show you how even light's faithful journey can be slowed, and how time itself follows along. You do not meet this idea with drama or noise. It arrives quietly, almost politely, as if it does not want to disturb your rest. There is no explosion of insight, no sudden collapse of certainty. Instead, there is a gentle suggestion, offered calmly: what if time is not what you thought it was? You imagine a man sitting with his thoughts, unhurried. Albert Einstein does not shout his ideas into the world. He turns them over slowly, examining them from every angle. He listens carefully to what the universe seems to be saying, rather than insisting it behave as expected. For centuries, time has been treated as absolute. A single river flowing forward, the same everywhere, for everyone. Clocks may disagree, but time itself is assumed to remain untouched, steady behind the scenes. Einstein looks at this assumption and wonders if it is truly necessary. He notices something simple and unsettling. If light always moves at the same speed, no matter who observes it, then time cannot behave the same for all observers. Something has to give. And it is time that bends first. This realization does not break the universe. It reshapes it. Time, Einstein suggests, is not separate from space. The two are woven together, forming a single fabric. Spacetime. Not two things working side by side, but one continuous structure. You picture this fabric gently stretching across the cosmos. It is not rigid. It is flexible, responsive. Events do not simply happen in space and time, they happen within space-time, shaped by it. This idea feels abstract at first, but you let it settle slowly. Like snow falling at night, it softens the edges of everything it touches. Space is no longer an empty stage. Time is no longer an invisible metronome. They are participants. Einstein proposes that motion through space affects motion through time. The faster you move, the slower time flows for you. Not as a trick of perception, but as a real, physical effect. Time itself adjusts. You do not feel alarmed by this. There is something almost comforting about it. The universe is not demanding uniformity. It is allowing perspective. If two people move differently, they experience time differently. Both experiences are valid. Neither is privileged. There is no single, universal clock keeping score. This challenges something deep and familiar. You are used to believing that now means the same thing everywhere. Einstein gently takes that certainty away, replacing it with something subtler. There is no absolute now. There are many nows, each belonging to its own path through space-time. This does not mean reality falls apart. It means reality is richer than simplicity allowed. The universe accommodates difference without contradiction. Einstein's equations describe this precisely, but you do not need the mathematics to feel the truth of it. You already know that experience changes with motion. You have felt moments stretch during stillness and compress during speed. What Einstein does is listen to that intuition and extend it outward, beyond the body, into the structure of the cosmos. Time slows for fast-moving objects. This is not noticeable in daily life because everyday speeds are small compared to light. But the effect is always there, quietly present. You imagine astronauts orbiting Earth. Their clocks tick slightly slower than clocks on the ground. They return having aged just a little less. Not dramatically, not enough to feel, but enough to measure. Time, it turns out, is sensitive. It notices motion. It responds. This sensitivity does not weaken time. It reveals its nature. Time is not an external rule imposed on the universe. It is an outcome of how the universe is arranged. Space and time form a single, flexible system. Change one, and the other adjusts. This idea spreads gently through physics, reshaping everything it touches. It removes the need for a cosmic referee. There is no master clock hidden somewhere beyond the stars. Instead, each object carries its own measure of time, shaped by how it moves and where it is. You feel the quiet humility in this. The universe does not center itself around a single viewpoint. It allows many truths to coexist. Einstein does not present this as chaos. He presents it as harmony. The laws remain consistent, even as experiences differ. You rest with this thought. Time is local. It belongs to place and motion. It is not torn from the world, but embedded within it. The night feels deeper now, not because it is later, but because your understanding has shifted. The universe feels less mechanical, more organic. You begin to sense that this is only the beginning. Motion is one way spacetime responds. But there is another influence, even more subtle, even more powerful. If movement can slow time, what happens when space itself is shaped? What happens when mass enters the picture? Einstein follows this path patiently, guided by the same quiet curiosity. He wonders not just how things move, but how space itself might bend. As your thoughts grow heavier and slower, you feel the approach of this next idea. Gravity is no longer just a pull. It is a curve waiting to be understood. And as you drift closer to sleep, you sense spacetime preparing to deepen, ready to show you how weight itself can press time into a slower, gentler flow. You begin by letting go of an old image. Gravity is no longer an invisible hand reaching out and pulling things together. It does not yank or demand. Instead, it invites. It shapes the space around it, and everything else responds naturally. You imagine space-time as a wide, quiet surface. Smooth, calm, and gently extended in every direction. On its own, it lies flat and untroubled. Time flows evenly across it, unhurried, uncomplicated. Now you place something into this surface. Something with weight. A planet, perhaps. The surface dips slightly beneath it, forming a shallow curve. Nothing snaps or tears. The fabric simply yields. This yielding is gravity. The planet does not pull nearby objects toward itself. Instead, it reshapes the space they move through. Objects follow the curves already present. They roll inward not because they are commanded to, but because the path has changed. You sit with this image. Gravity as geometry. As shape rather than force. As an invitation rather than a demand. Now you place something heavier into the fabric. A star. The curve deepens. Space bends more noticeably. Paths grow steeper. Movement changes. And time changes with it. This is the part that feels almost too quiet to be dramatic. As space curves more deeply, time begins to slow. Not abruptly. Not violently. But steadily, predictably, faithfully. Near massive objects, seconds stretch. Moments last longer. Clocks tick more slowly. You imagine a clock resting on the surface far from any weight. It ticks along evenly, comfortably. Now you imagine an identical clock placed closer to the curved region near a planet. It ticks more slowly. It does not know it is doing so. It simply follows the shape of space-time beneath it. This slowing is not a flaw. It is not damage. It is the natural behavior of time within a curved landscape. The deeper the curve, the greater the slowing. Near Earth, the effect is small but real. Time on the surface of the planet flows slightly slower than time higher above it. This difference is tiny, but it exists. You are living in it right now. Every second you experience is just a little longer than a second experienced farther away from Earth's gravity. You do not feel this difference. Your body adapts. Your rhythms remain aligned. But physics notices. Satellites orbiting above you must account for this difference. Their clocks run faster than yours. Engineers adjust them carefully so that navigation systems remain accurate. Even in everyday technology, gravity's effect on time quietly matters. You rest with this thought, not as something unsettling, but as something intimate. Gravity is not just holding you to the ground. It is shaping your time. You imagine the Earth as a gentle cradle, curving spacetime just enough to slow the flow of moments for everything resting upon it. The planet does not rush you. It holds you in a mild delay. This makes heaviness feel different. Weight is no longer just pressure or strain. It is influence. It is the power to shape the tempo of reality. You turn your thoughts outward again. What happens near something much heavier than Earth? A star curves spacetime far more deeply. Time near its surface slows more noticeably. A clock near the star lags behind one far away. Again, not by choice, not by failure, but by design. Now you imagine something heavier still. A dense remnant of a collapsed star. A neutron star. The curve grows steep. Space bends dramatically. Time slows further, lingering longer with each passing moment. Gravity, in this view, is patient. It does not tear time apart. It stretches it. You begin to sense a pattern. Motion affects time. Gravity affects time. Both do so gently, consistently, without exception. Time is responsive. It listens to mass. It yields to weight. This does not make the universe fragile. It makes it coherent. Space, time, matter, and motion are not separate systems competing for control. They are parts of a single conversation. Einstein's insight reveals gravity as the shape of that conversation. Matter tells spacetime how to curve. Spacetime tells matter how to move. Time flows according to the curves created. You feel the elegance of this settle over you. Nothing is arbitrary. Nothing is wasted. Every effect arises from structure. As you breathe slowly, you imagine your own body resting in Earth's shallow curve. You are not pressed down harshly. You are nestled. The floor supports you. The planet supports the floor. Gravity supports time itself. This idea carries a quiet emotional weight. You are not just resting on Earth. You are resting in a region of space-time shaped to hold you. Time slows here, ever so slightly, as if acknowledging the presence of mass, of substance, of being. You imagine drifting upward, far from Earth, far from stars, into deep space where gravity thins. The fabric flattens. Time speeds up, just a little. Moments pass more quickly. There is no right or wrong speed. There is only context. Time has no preferred pace. It flows according to where it is allowed to flow. This realization feels deeply compatible with rest. Slowness is not failure. It is a consequence of being held. The heavier the presence, the deeper the curve. The deeper the curve, the slower the time. Gravity, you realize, is not an enemy of motion or freedom. It is a sculptor of experience. As sleep draws nearer, your thoughts grow rounder, softer, less sharp. The idea of curved time feels less like theory and more like environment. You are inside a curve now. Not a dramatic one, not an extreme one, but a gentle one, shaped by a planet that has carried life for billions of years. And as your awareness drifts, you begin to wonder what happens when two clocks rest in different curves. What happens when they part ways, each following its own shape of time, quietly disagreeing about the meaning of now? You imagine two clocks, perfectly identical in every way. They are synchronized carefully, ticking together in complete agreement. For a moment, they share the same rhythm, the same understanding of now. There is no difference between them. Time feels unified, simple, and shared. Then, gently, they part. One clock remains where it is, far from any heavy presence, resting in a region of spacetime that is nearly flat. The other begins a slow descent, moving closer to a massive body. Not quickly, not dramatically. Just drifting downward, following the curve that gravity has shaped. At first, nothing seems to change. The clocks still tick. They still mark seconds. They still feel faithful to their purpose. But quietly, subtly, something begins to diverge. The clock that descends ticks a little more slowly. Not enough for anyone nearby to notice. Not enough to disrupt its own sense of order. From its perspective, time feels normal. Each second arrives as expected. Each moment unfolds naturally. The clock that remains higher feels the same. It ticks steadily, confidently, unaware that anything unusual is happening. And yet, the universe is keeping careful track. If you could step outside both clocks and observe them together, you would see it. One falls slightly behind. The difference grows slowly, patiently, like distance accumulating between two walkers who chose different paths. Neither clock is wrong. Neither is malfunctioning. Each is faithfully responding to the spacetime it inhabits. This is one of the quiet truths of relativity. Time does not belong to objects alone. It belongs to paths. It belongs to places. You feel how counterintuitive this is. You are used to thinking of time as something that exists independently, flowing uniformly everywhere. But here, time reveals itself as something local, shaped by environment. The clocks are not arguing. They are simply experiencing reality from different positions within it. You imagine the clocks meeting again someday. When they are brought back together, they will no longer agree. One will show that more time has passed. The other will insist less has gone by. This disagreement is not philosophical. It is measurable. It can be tested. Scientists have done so, placing clocks on airplanes, rockets, satellites, and mountains. Every time, the same gentle truth appears. Time drifts. You rest with this idea. Not as something unsettling, but as something surprisingly fair. The universe does not privilege one clock over another. It honors context. Time is not a dictator enforcing uniformity. It is a listener, responding to gravity and motion alike. You notice how familiar this feels on a human level. Two people can share a moment and yet experience it differently. One feels it stretch. The other feels it pass quickly. Both are honest. Both are right. The universe behaves the same way, only with far greater precision. The descending clock experiences deeper gravity. Spacetime curves more strongly around it. Time slows in response, just as it must. The higher clock rests in a gentler curve. Time flows a little faster there, freer, less restrained. Neither clock chooses its pace. Time is not something they control. It is something they inhabit. This realization softens the idea of disagreement. Difference does not mean error. It means position. You begin to sense that now is not a single point shared by all things. It is a collection of local moments, each shaped by where and how something exists. There is no universal presence slicing cleanly across the cosmos. There are overlapping presents, gently misaligned. This does not fracture reality. It enriches it. You imagine countless clocks scattered throughout the universe. Some rest near stars. Some orbit planets. Some drift in deep space. All of them keep time honestly. All of them tell slightly different stories. The universe holds every one of those stories at once. As you breathe, slowly and evenly, you feel how your own sense of now is shaped by where you are. By the weight of the earth beneath you. By the stillness of the night. By the slowing of your thoughts. Time is drifting here too, settling into a gentler pace as your body rests. You are not outside this system. You are part of it. Your aging, your memories, your moments are all shaped by the path you follow through space-time. This does not make time fragile. It makes it intimate. You imagine standing beside one of those clocks, close enough to hear its ticking. It sounds normal. Comforting. Reliable. There is no hint that it is out of sync with another far away. This is how time works. It does not announce its differences. It simply is. The idea of drifting clocks invites patience. It suggests that comparison is not always meaningful. That synchronization is local, not cosmic. You feel how compatible this is with rest. There is no need to keep up with an external pace. Your time is yours, shaped by your circumstances. The universe does not rush you. It does not demand that you match someone else's clock. As sleep approaches, your thoughts slow further, and the idea of drifting clocks feels less like physics and more like permission. You are allowed to move at your own speed. You are allowed to experience time as it comes to you. Somewhere far away, clocks are ticking faster. Somewhere else, they are ticking slower. All of them belong. This quiet plurality prepares you for what comes next. If gravity can cause clocks to drift apart gently, what happens when gravity becomes extreme? What happens when the curve deepens so dramatically that time itself nearly stops? As your awareness softens, you feel your thoughts drawn toward places where gravity is no longer gentle, where time slows to a whisper, waiting at the edge of something vast and dark. You move closer now, not with your body, but with your imagination. There is no danger here, no falling, no fear. You are only observing, drifting gently toward one of the most extreme places the universe allows to exist. A black hole waits ahead, quiet and heavy, without light or sound. It does not glow. It does not announce itself. A black hole is known not by what it shows, but by what it does to everything around it. Space curves deeply here. Time follows. From far away, nothing seems unusual. Stars orbit calmly. Light bends slightly as it passes. The universe continues its slow, familiar motion. But as you draw nearer in thought, you begin to feel the deepening curve of spacetime, like a valley growing steeper beneath your feet. A black hole forms when matter is compressed beyond a limit. A massive star collapses inward, its own gravity overwhelming every force that once held it up. What remains is not an object in the ordinary sense, but a region where spacetime itself is shaped into an extreme curve. You imagine spacetime here not as fabric, but as a deep well. The sides slope sharply inward. Paths that once felt gentle now descend steeply. Everything that comes close must follow these paths, including time. Near the black hole, time slows dramatically. This slowing is not sudden. It does not snap or shatter. It stretches. Each second lingers longer than the one before. Moments widen, becoming thick and heavy. You imagine a clock hovering close to the edge of this region, just outside the boundary known as the event horizon. The clock ticks, but slowly. Painfully slowly, from the perspective of someone far away. To the clock itself, nothing feels wrong. Time feels normal. Each second arrives when expected. The mechanism works as it always has. Reality remains intact locally. But from afar, watching that clock, you would see something strange. Its hands creep forward, almost frozen. Each tick takes longer than the last. The clock seems reluctant to move. This is one of the most profound lessons gravity teaches. Time does not stop in one dramatic moment. It fades. The closer the clock gets to the black hole, the slower it appears to tick. Near the event horizon, time nearly stands still, stretched thin by gravity's immense curve. You sit with this image, letting it remain calm rather than frightening. There is no violence here, only patience. Gravity is not rushing time to an end. It is asking it to slow, and time complies. From far away, you would never see the clock cross the event horizon. It would fade, redshifted, slowed beyond perception. Time, from that distant perspective, seems to freeze at the edge. But near the clock, time continues. The universe does not break. It simply divides experience. This duality feels important. Time depends on where you stand. Perspective is not illusion. It is structure. You imagine standing far from the black hole, watching events unfold near it. You see motion slow. You see light stretch into deeper reds. You see time hesitate. Now you imagine standing alongside the clock, close to the black hole. Everything feels ordinary. The universe has not paused. Your thoughts flow. Your heartbeat continues. Reality feels stable. Both views are correct. This is the quiet power of relativity. It allows extreme difference without contradiction. The universe holds both experiences at once. A black hole does not destroy time. It reshapes it so profoundly that distant observers and nearby ones can no longer agree on how quickly moments pass. You feel how this challenges the idea of a single cosmic timeline. There is no master clock counting down the universe's age in unison. There are many clocks, many rhythms, many local truths. Near a black hole, time becomes deeply personal. You imagine how this must look across the cosmos. Galaxies drifting, stars burning, black holes anchoring their centers, quietly slowing time in their depths. The universe becomes a patchwork of temporal speeds. This patchwork is not chaotic. It is structured by mass and distance. Time flows smoothly, but not uniformly. You sense how gravity's patience reaches its peak here. Near a black hole, time is stretched almost beyond recognition, but never torn. Even at the edge, the universe remains calm. This calmness is surprising. Black holes are often spoken of as violent, destructive things. But in the language of spacetime, they are serene. They do not rage. They curve. You rest with the idea that time can slow to nearly nothing without collapsing. That the universe allows such extremes and still remains coherent. This speaks to a deep resilience. Reality is not fragile. It is flexible. As you imagine drifting closer, you do not cross the event horizon. You remain just outside, observing, safe in thought. You watch time stretch thinner and thinner, like a whisper drawn out into silence. Here, near the edge, the future takes its time arriving. Moments stack gently atop one another, reluctant to pass. The present feels extended, almost infinite. You notice how this resonates with rest, with sleep. When you are deeply relaxed, time seems to lose urgency. It no longer pushes forward. It lingers. The black hole teaches this lesson in an extreme way. Time does not disappear. It deepens. You breathe slowly, feeling how your own sense of time softens as your thoughts slow. You are not near a black hole, yet the metaphor holds. Gravity and rest share something in common. They slow the rush. As your awareness drifts, you begin to wonder how close the slowing can come to stopping entirely. What happens if gravity grows even stronger, if the curve becomes absolute? This question waits quietly, like the dark center of the black hole itself. Not demanding attention, only inviting curiosity. And as sleep draws nearer, you sense yourself moving away from the edge, carrying with you the understanding that time is not always swift, not always equal, and that in the deepest curves of the universe, patience becomes the dominant force, guiding you gently toward the next thought. You gently move away from the extremes of black holes and return to something more familiar. A planet. Solid ground beneath your feet. A horizon that curves softly away. You imagine yourself standing on a world not unlike Earth, yet subtly different. Heavier. Denser. Holding you a little more firmly. You look down at your hands. They look the same. You feel your breath moving in and out. Your heartbeat is calm and steady. Nothing feels unusual. Gravity does not announce itself with drama. It simply holds. On this planet, life feels ordinary from the inside. Days pass. Nights arrive. You eat, rest, think, and dream just as you would anywhere else. Your inner clocks tick with their familiar rhythms. Time feels normal. And yet, something quiet and profound is happening. Far away from this planet, somewhere high above its surface, time is moving a little faster. Not enough to be felt. Not enough to disrupt life. But enough to matter. You imagine someone observing you from afar, perhaps floating in space where gravity is weaker. From their perspective, your time is slow. Your seconds are longer. Your aging is gentler. You are lingering in moments they pass through more quickly. You do not notice this difference. How could you? All experience is local. Your body and mind are perfectly aligned with the pace of time where you are. There is no internal conflict, no sense of lag. Time does not feel slow to itself. This is one of the universe's quiet truths. Time dilation is not a sensation. It is a relationship. It appears only when paths are compared. On this heavier planet, gravity presses more deeply into space-time. The curve beneath you is steeper than Earth's. Time responds by slowing slightly, settling into a more patient flow. You imagine years passing. You celebrate birthdays. You watch seasons cycle. Everything feels natural. Yet when you reunite with someone who lived far from this gravity, you find that they have aged more than you. Not by much. Perhaps only minutes or hours over a lifetime. But the difference is real. This idea does not feel unsettling. It feels oddly tender. Time becomes something that cares about where you are, how deeply you are held. The planet does not rush you. It allows you to linger. You think again of Earth. Earth is not especially heavy by cosmic standards, yet it still shapes time. The seconds you experience here are just a little slower than those experienced by satellites orbiting above you. You are already living on a slower planet. This slowing is gentle. It does not trap you. It does not isolate you. It simply adds a subtle weight to each moment. You imagine the planet as a companion rather than a constraint. It curves space-time around itself, creating a pocket where time flows differently. Life unfolds inside that pocket, unaware of the contrast beyond. Planets, stars, and galaxies all do this. Each creates its own tempo, its own local rhythm of time. The universe, you realize, is not synchronized like a metronome. It is polyphonic. Many tempos playing at once, harmonizing without merging. You rest with this idea. Time is a chorus rather than a single voice. From this perspective, comparison loses its urgency. Faster is not better. Slower is not worse. They are simply different expressions of being. You imagine standing on a much heavier world still. Gravity presses more firmly. Time slows further. Life adapts. Everything adjusts naturally. There is no universal pace that all must follow. The universe does not insist on sameness. This thought carries comfort. You are allowed to live at the speed your circumstances create. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where your path through space-time places you. As night falls on your imagined planet, you look up at the stars. Light from distant worlds reaches you, carrying moments shaped by other gravities, other motions. Some of that light left its source long ago, when time flowed differently there than it does now. You receive it in your slower present, folding distant pasts into your local now. The sky becomes a tapestry of times layered together. You breathe slowly, feeling the planet beneath you, steady and patient. Gravity is not pressing harshly. It is supporting you, shaping your time without asking anything in return. This deepens your sense of rest. Slowness feels earned, not imposed. You think about how often life feels rushed, as though there is a correct speed you must maintain. The universe does not share this concern. It allows variation everywhere. Planets do not compete over whose time flows faster. Stars do not compare their moments. They simply exist, shaping time by being what they are. You are part of this same system. Your presence shapes your experience of time. Your rest shapes it further. As you lie quietly, you feel how gravity holds you against the earth, anchoring you gently. You are not floating through moments. You are supported by them. Time here is not sharp. It is rounded, softened by mass and rest. You begin to sense how ordinary this miracle is. Time dilation is not reserved for black holes or distant stars. It happens here, now, beneath your feet. Every moment you experience is shaped by the planet you live on. This does not make Earth special or insignificant. It makes it particular. It gives it a tempo all its own. As your thoughts grow slower, you feel gratitude for this mild delay. For the way Earth stretches seconds just enough to hold life comfortably. And as sleep draws closer, you begin to turn your attention back toward daily life, toward the familiar technologies and routines that quietly depend on these tiny differences in time. You sense that even in the most ordinary moments, the bending of time is at work, unnoticed but essential, waiting to reveal how deeply relativity is woven into the world you wake up to every day. You settle into stillness, allowing your mind to drift inward once more. Beyond clocks and satellites, beyond planets and black holes, there is another form of time, one that lives in your memory, in your emotions, in the quiet spaces of your mind. Here, time behaves in ways that are both familiar and strange. You remember a day from long ago. Perhaps it was a warm morning, the sun pouring softly through a window, or a night when the stars seemed impossibly bright. The moment itself may have lasted only an hour, or even a few minutes, yet in memory, it stretches. Every detail becomes vivid. Every feeling lingers. Time dilates in the theater of your mind. You notice how this mirrors what gravity does in the physical world. Just as a massive object can slow the passage of seconds, weight, emotional, psychological, even moral, can lengthen or compress the experience of time. Moments with deep significance feel heavier, denser. Moments of routine or distraction pass almost unnoticed, collapsing into nothing. This is a quiet truth, often overlooked. Time is not only measured by clocks. It is also measured by the intensity of experience, by the depth of perception. When joy, fear, curiosity, or love are present, the same seconds can feel different, weighted with meaning. You imagine your memories as curves in a personal spacetime. Some are shallow, smooth, barely noticeable. Others plunge deeply, carrying layers of detail, emotion, and significance. Walking through them is like moving through a landscape shaped by your own inner gravity. Some events slow you, some accelerate you, but all are consistent within your perception. Even forgetting has its place in this map. Some memories fade, like distant stars dimming with time. Their moments shorten, their presence becomes less pronounced. Yet the traces remain, shaping the contours of thought and the flow of experience. Time, in memory, is pliant, just as it is in space. You feel how closely this intertwines with the universe outside. Gravity bends time gently around massive objects. Emotion bends time gently within the mind. The two are not the same, yet the parallel is striking. Both show that time is not uniform, that it responds to presence, to weight, to depth. You consider the effect of anticipation. Waiting for something important stretches minutes into what feels like hours. Excitement, anxiety, hope, they pull at the seconds, elongating them. Time slows under the weight of expectation, just as it slows under the influence of gravity. And when the awaited moment arrives, it may collapse, brief but infinitely dense in memory. You think of sorrow, loss, and longing. The days seem to drag, each second heavier than the last. Grief magnifies the passage of time, making hours feel like eternity. And yet, with reflection, those same moments may compress, folded neatly into stories that are told in minutes but carry decades of feeling. Emotional weight curves time just as mass curves spacetime. You realize that you are learning to read these curves. Memory and emotion are topography. Your mind navigates valleys and peaks of experience, and the journey is what defines duration. Time becomes something lived, not merely counted. You breathe slowly, feeling your chest rise and fall. Your heartbeat echoes the gentle rhythms of this exploration. You imagine each beat as a point along your personal timeline, shaped by gravity outside and emotion inside. Each moment exists in relation to others, expanding or contracting according to context. This awareness carries a profound calm. You are not pressed by a rigid sequence of seconds. You are flowing through a landscape, attentive to the contours of experience, cushioned by the gravity of memory. You notice how the past and the present intertwine. Recollection is never isolated. When you remember, you bring the present along, seeing past moments through your current awareness. Time becomes layered. You are both here and there, then and now, merging paths across the internal cosmos. Memory, like light traveling through space, carries information. It bends around obstacles, stretches over distance, and occasionally loses energy. But it persists. The connection between events, feelings, and perception is maintained, just as the universe maintains order even when time flows differently in different places. You consider moments of intense learning or creation. When absorbed fully, time often slips away unnoticed. Hours may pass as if they were minutes. Yet the significance, the density of attention, leaves marks that linger long afterward. Even in this compression, time is meaningful, shaped by focus and engagement. Your thoughts drift to the simplest pleasures. A quiet conversation, a gentle walk, the rhythm of breath. Here, too, time flexes. Moments feel lighter, more spacious, easier to inhabit. This is a different kind of dilation, not caused by gravity or velocity, but by the absence of pressure, the presence of calm. Time, you realize, flows most fully when it is allowed to breathe. You imagine the world around you reflecting this internal experience. Just as satellites above must account for relativity to remain accurate, your mind accounts for its own internal curvature. Memory and emotion act as instruments, calibrating subjective time so that it aligns with significance, with meaning, with the weight of life itself. You notice how stories do this too. Tales carry time differently than real events. In a good story, a single chapter can feel like a lifetime or a fleeting instant. Writers and readers, like the universe, shape temporal experience. Each sentence bends attention, each paragraph curves emotion. Time is fluid. It bends for gravity, for light, for motion. It bends for memory, for feeling, for focus. Each influence is local, yet each contributes to a global understanding of life's rhythm. You feel the edges of wakefulness softening. Moments that once seemed separate begin to blend. Memory and sensation fold into one another. The night outside is quiet, your room is still, and inside, your own inner landscape stretches comfortably. There is comfort in knowing that time is not uniform. It means that life does not have to be uniform. You can linger here, in this safe, attentive present, without guilt. You can allow moments to expand or contract naturally, just as the universe allows seconds to flow more slowly near massive objects, or faster where gravity weakens. You imagine how this understanding can travel with you. In stress, you can remember that time is pliant. In joy, you can notice its gentle expansion. In reflection, you can see that moments carry weight and significance, just as planets and stars bend spacetime. You rest in the quiet symmetry between inner and outer worlds. Gravity and memory both shape time. Emotion and mass both curve experience. The universe is consistent, even as it allows variability. There is order, but not rigidity. There is rhythm, but not monotony. As your thoughts soften and your body relaxes further, you notice how this awareness gently prepares you for what comes next. If memory and gravity can shape the flow of moments, how might you participate consciously in the slowing of time itself? How might you invite rest, reflection, and presence into your own curve of existence? And as your mind drifts towards sleep, you feel time folding around you, both inside and out, carrying you toward the gentle ease of slowing fully, preparing for the next chapter where you will learn to let time rest with you entirely. You drift back now from imagined planets and distant stars, returning to the quiet familiarity of everyday life. The room around you is still. The night feels ordinary. Nothing suggests that time is doing anything unusual. And yet, beneath this calm surface, relativity is quietly at work. You begin with something simple. A phone in your hand. A map on a screen. A voice guiding you from one place to another. It feels effortless, almost mundane. But this ease is carefully maintained by a universe that refuses to let time behave the same everywhere. High above you, satellites circle the Earth. They move quickly, gliding through space while feeling less of the planet's gravity. Their path places them in a different region of spacetime than the one you inhabit. Because of this, their clocks tick differently than yours. The difference is small. Tiny. Just fractions of a second. But those fractions accumulate. Left uncorrected, they would cause navigation errors that grow larger every day. Streets would shift. Destinations would drift. Precision would dissolve. So the satellites adjust. Or rather, engineers adjust them, guided by the understanding that time flows faster up there than it does down here with you. This is not theory. It is daily practice. Every time your location is calculated, signals travel from those satellites to your device. The timing of those signals must be exquisitely precise. A small error in time becomes a large error in distance. Relativity keeps the system honest. You let this settle. The bending of time is not hidden in distant galaxies alone. It hums quietly inside the tools you use without thinking. Time dilation is not dramatic here. It does not announce itself. It simply makes things work. You imagine the satellites as quiet companions, carrying clocks that live at a slightly different pace. They are not out of sync. They are simply elsewhere. This feels familiar now. Different paths, different times, all coexisting peacefully. You think of airplanes crossing the sky. Their clocks tick just a bit differently too. Scientists have carried precise clocks aboard planes, flown them around the Earth, and brought them back to compare. The differences are small, but measurable. Time drifts, even on a single planet. These experiments do not reveal chaos. They reveal consistency. The universe behaves exactly as relativity predicts, every time. You find comfort in this reliability. The universe may be flexible, but it is not unpredictable. Even here, in the stillness of night, time is responding to motion and gravity. You are not stationary in the cosmic sense. Earth spins. Earth orbits. The solar system moves through the galaxy. The galaxy drifts through the universe. All of this motion shapes how time flows for you. And yet, you feel none of it. This is another quiet kindness of reality. Experience remains smooth even when structure is complex. You are not burdened by the calculations beneath existence. The universe does the work for you. You notice how this mirrors your own body. Countless processes unfold every second without demanding your attention. Time dilation in technology is similar. It is always present, always active, always unobtrusive. You rest with this parallel. Complexity does not require awareness to function. This understanding changes how you view the ordinary. The everyday world is no longer separate from deep physics. It is infused with it. The phone, the clock on the wall, the satellites overhead, all participate in the same spacetime conversation as black holes and stars. The difference is scale, not principle. You imagine the planet wrapped in a delicate web of signals and corrections, all accounting for time's gentle bending. It is like a quiet orchestra, each instrument adjusting slightly so the harmony holds. None of this makes life feel artificial. It makes it feel supported. Time dilation is not a glitch to be fixed. It is a feature to be respected. As you breathe slowly, you realize how rarely you think about time in this way. Most of the time, you treat it as a backdrop, something assumed rather than examined. Yet even your sleep tonight is shaped by relativity. Your rest unfolds within Earth's curve. Your dreams occur in a slightly slowed present compared to space above you. This does not isolate you. It connects you. You are participating in the same physics that governs the entire universe, not as an observer, but as a resident. This thought feels grounding. You are not separate from cosmic law. You are held within it. The night deepens. The world grows quieter. The satellites continue their orbits, clocks ticking gently ahead of yours. The planet continues to spin, curving spacetime steadily beneath you. Everything moves together without needing to be the same. You begin to see everyday life as layered. Beneath routine and habit, there is a soft precision, a constant negotiation between motion, gravity, and time. The universe is not rigidly ticking in the background. It is actively adjusting, moment by moment, so that experience remains coherent. This coherence feels like trust. The universe trusts itself to remain consistent even while allowing difference. You feel that trust now as you let go of wakefulness. There is nothing you need to monitor. Nothing you need to synchronize. Time is doing what it has always done. flowing locally, adapting gently. And as your thoughts slow further, you begin to turn inward once more, wondering how memory and emotion shape your sense of duration, and how the bending of time outside mirrors the way moments stretch and compress within your own mind.